Have you ever finished a book or a movie and just been floored thinking, how on earth did they do that? It can feel like pure magic, right? But the thing is, the greatest stories aren't just written, they're built. And today, we're going to explore this really cool metaphor for how that construction happens, piece by meticulous piece. So, let's start with the big question. Think about a story you absolutely love, maybe a favorite film or book. How was it actually put together? What gives it that feeling of power, like it couldn't have happened any other way? I think for most of us, we picture it as a straight line, just a simple progression from A to B to C. But here's the twist. A straight line? That often leads to a story you forget pretty quickly. The really great narratives, the ones that get under your skin and stay with you, they don't follow a line at all. They form a perfect circle. It sounds like a simple change in shape, but as you're about to see, it changes, well, absolutely everything. We're calling this the domino cycle. And I want you to really picture it. Every single element of a story, a character, a scene, a plot twist, it's a domino. So the writer's job isn't just to come up with ideas, but to line them all up perfectly. And the reader, their job is just to give that very first one a tiny push, and then watch that incredible, unstoppable cascade. All right, so where do we begin? Well, you start with the very first domino. This isn't just any old idea. It's the foundational spark. Let's call it the head of the story. Every great story starts with this, one single domino. Now, to make this real, just imagine one half of the domino has a number on it. Let's say it's a 6. That 6 is the known part of your story. It's the premise, like a detective finding a mysterious clue. But the other half is an unknown, an X. And that's the hook. It's the question that the clue raises. So this domino, it's inherently unstable. It needs another piece to connect to. It's just sitting there, waiting for what happens next. And that need for connection, that brings us to the body of the story. This is the patient, deliberate work of building out from that first spark, creating this long, compelling chain, one domino at a time. So the process is basically a cycle of action and reaction. You've got your first idea down. Then you kind of reach into this imaginary box full of all your other creative thoughts to find the next logical piece, the next domino. But here's the key. You have to forge a link. The numbers have to match. The cause has to lead to an effect. So the detective's clue has to lead him to a suspect. Each new piece you add has to connect logically to the one that came before it, slowly, carefully extending that chain. And this metaphor goes even deeper. Think about the physical gap you leave between dominoes. That's like the creative struggle, the effort it takes to connect two ideas. What about a break in the chain? Well, that's your classic plot hole, or maybe a bad case of writer's block. Even the sound of the fall matters. Is it the rapid-fire clack, clack, clack of a thriller, or is it the slow, resonant thud, thud of a thoughtful drama? The whole writing experience is right there in the metaphor. So for a while, you're just building this straight line, beginning, middle, end. And honestly, a lot of stories just stop right there. They're fine. But the truly masterful ones, they do something else. They make a choice. They decide to bend that line, to turn a simple progression into a profound cycle, where the end is actually destined to meet the beginning. And this brings us to what might be the most critical decision a storyteller can make. It's that conscious, deliberate choice to stop building a line and to instead close the circle, which elevates the entire narrative into something truly resonant and whole. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? The end of the story reaches back to shake hands with the beginning. It's not just about ending things. It's about making the end connect with the start. That's what gives you, the reader, that deep feeling of satisfaction, that sense that, wow, everything was connected from the very first page. So, how does this actually work with our dominoes? Okay, remember our very first domino, the one with the known 6 and the unknown X? Well, let's say after you've built your entire chain, the very last domino, the final consequence of your story, it ends with the number 5. To close the circle, you have to make sure that the unknown X from that very first domino was a 5 all along. the final effect has to connect perfectly back to the initial cause. And just like that, the loop is sealed. And once that circle is finally complete, once every single piece is perfectly in its place, it's time for the magic. It's time to set this whole thing in motion and release it to the world. This is that moment. The writer hits publish, the director releases the film, you open the book to the first page. It just takes one simple push, and the entire, carefully constructed system roars to life. What happens next is just this beautiful, unstoppable flow. The first chapter topples, hitting the second, and that narrative energy just transfers all the way through the chain. But because we close the circle, the final dominoes fall does something really special. It doesn't just end the story. It sends this powerful echo back through the entire structure, and it completely changes how we see the beginning. And in that moment, the story isn't a collection of separate chapters or ideas anymore. It has become one. A single, complete, unified system where the end gives brand new meaning to the beginning, and you realize the beginning held the seed of the end all along. It's a perfect loop. But the story doesn't really end when that last domino falls. No, that's when its real work in the world actually begins. We move from that final impact to the story's lasting legacy. And this is the ultimate goal, right? A finished story doesn't just end. It creates an echo. It's that feeling you get when you close a book, but the story is still running on a loop in your head. It's the theme that sticks with you for days, or the character you just can't stop thinking about. That's the echo. That's the legacy. And that echo, it has creative power. The sight of that perfectly completed circle can inspire a new creator. Hey, maybe even you. It causes a brand new domino to stand up, all on its own, ready with its own premise and its own unanswered question. A great story doesn't just end, it becomes the spark for the next one. So, the next time you experience a story that really stays with you, think of it as this perfectly closed circle of dominoes, and then ask yourself, what new ideas did its echo create in me? What story will your echo inspire? Thanks for tuning in.